Hi, in this video, you're going to learn how you can overcome your self-doubt. I think self-doubt is such a topic that is not talked about enough. Like you might hear about how important it is, why you, let's say, shouldn't have self-doubt and like why it could be a good or bad thing. But I think it's not talked about enough in the sense of how it could affect like not just how we feel about ourselves, but how we view life in general, like this world that we live in. So in this video, I'm just going to give you 3 tips on how you can overcome your self-doubt. I think number 1, you might not have heard this, you might have, but I think that when we set big goals for ourselves and we don't accomplish those big goals, that's where that self-doubt comes from. Because whatever goal you have, like you can think about it, you could have thought about it, you could have it right now, whatever. But with these big goals and wanting to accomplish them at a certain time or wanting to reach a certain point of, let's say, it could be like weight or whatever it is. However, these goals sometimes are unrealistic to your circumstance, or they could be, but like you just haven't put in the work. Like there could be so many things. However, when we set these big goals for ourselves and we don't accomplish them, we feel bad. We have these negative thoughts. We feel like we can't accomplish other things in our life because it's like, hey, like I set this goal for myself, like why can't I just accomplish it? And I think it comes from a deeper place, because when we set smaller goals for ourselves and we accomplish them, even though like it could be super small, you will naturally feel so much more enlightened. You will feel so much better about yourself, even though it could have like nothing to do with this big goal that you have in mind that you want to accomplish. Even though it's super small, you will naturally feel so much better. Having small goals for yourself and accomplishing them, and you could give yourself certain times to do them. It's honestly up to you, whatever goals you have specifically for yourself in your life, but making sure that you set these small goals will help you. Like when you, even if as simple as waking up in the morning and you're waking up 30 minutes earlier, 20 minutes earlier than you usually do, it gives you a sense of dopamine. It gives you this feeling that, okay, you know what, yeah, like I proved to myself that I can do this, and so let me try this next time, let me do this now. And when we set these big goals for ourselves and then we set timelines for them, and we can give ourselves a lot of time to accomplish these big goals, but when we don't accomplish them, these little things that we want to do, we won't even accomplish the little stuff like waking up earlier, or just small habits that we won't accomplish, because we think that, okay, well, if I can't even do this small thing, how am I supposed to do, this big goal that I have in my mind? Like there could be, many reasons. It could be, the procrastination, it could be consistency, it can be many excuses. I think it's so important that we acknowledge excuses. Like we will make, as human beings, we naturally make excuses about everything. And also I've noticed that, with also friends that I've had who have had very strict parents growing up, my parents were, they were like in the middle. They weren't too strict, but they weren't like, they didn't let me do anything that I want. Like in that sense, they were like in the middle of like being overprotective. However, when I noticed with some of my friends' parents and the way that they taught them, it was very easy for them to make excuses about things very quickly, because they were so used to doing it with their parents. And so when we look at how important our inner child is, like the way that you grow up, it's not just about your genetics. Like obviously our genetics do have a big impact on many things, especially, our health, internally, externally, everything. We see how genetics have a big impact on our life, but it also isn't just about genetics. It's about how we grew up, and the type of person that you are when you're younger does have an effect on you when you're older. And so when we make excuses, especially at a young age, for very small things, it's hard to understand like why is this happening? Um, I think it's super important to understand the why in things that we want to do or we want to accomplish. And it's not just like how I said, if you want to lose weight, it's not just about like, oh, I want to lose, I don't know, 60 pounds by next year. Like, it's not just about I want this and the result. You have to understand deeper, like what is making you triggered, because sometimes I've even seen with past friends that I've had who have they've wanted to set certain goals specifically to lose weight, and they would lose that weight and then gain it all back because it was in an unhealthy way. And so your goal shouldn't just be based on I want to do this because I'm going to lose this weight and look better, because it's not all about, I think a lot of our self-doubt can come from externally, like, oh, how you look, or things that have happened with relationships, like, oh, are they judging me? Are they this? Are they that? And it can come from many things, but self-doubt is incredibly important because it comes from a deeper place within our inner child, but it also comes from the things that we do daily that affects how we look at our reality. My next point, so that was point 1, and my point 2 is understanding why. So I said that a little in the first one, but I'm going to talk about deeper in the second point. When you really understand why you are feeling a certain way, it changes your reality because you understand deeper. Like it's even like when you go to school and you're not understanding a concept, and you can practice and practice, but you can still not understand. Now, some people will get it quicker, some people won't, but it's just like you're not understanding this concept. And because when we don't understand why we are doing something, we won't. And for example, it could even be like if, let's say your parents asked you to wash the dishes and they're like, because I asked you to, like, go do it, or taking out the trash or the laundry, whatever it is, when you understand, that's just like kind of a stupid example, but when you really get deep on why you're doing things, you'll understand the importance of it. And it's like also when we think about what career choice that we want to do, what we want to do with our life, it's not just like, oh, because I'm passionate about it. Like, there's something deeper. Some people work 9 to 5s and they hate their job and they're just there to make an income, to make money, make sure that they're supporting their family. But some people really are passionate about their jobs and what they do and why they want to make an impact on people. And it's important to understand why. Sometimes, it comes naturally to some people. Some people want to make an income. However, I think understanding what you're good at and focusing on what you're good at is so important. And we will reflect on our past. When we don't understand why something happened, we could see how it affects our past as well. Because, our past plays such an important role in even our present. And I don't like when people say just forget about your past, because honestly, personally, I disagree with that. I think as much as we try not to do something, it comes back to us because we are focused on not doing something. Let's say, like, have you ever, like when you're watching like when you were younger, you would watch like a movie and like it would show like the character about to go on stage and like they're saying to themselves like, okay, don't trip, don't like stumble, whatever it is. And then they do that. And I think that's also super important. Like, understand that how you speak to yourself is important. When people say don't, obviously we understand why they're saying like don't think about your past and use it in your present and all that stuff. Like, we understand why it's important that our present is totally, it shouldn't be reflected on our past. We know that, we hear that. But I think when people say like just try to forget about your past, I totally disagree. Like I completely disagree with that statement, because we naturally can't. Our past is all we know. So when we think about the future and we overthink about, what's going to happen tomorrow or next week or whatever, when we think about our future life, we don't know. We don't know. We naturally fear the unknown. And because we as human beings feel like our brains naturally go to what's comfortable, we make excuses. These things that happen in our mind that just want to make us kind of sit back and know what we know. Like we don't want to change. We don't want to know the unknown. I think it's like kind of like when we think about our past, it brings a lot of thoughts and emotions, which affects our present, of course, but it also affects what we look at our future. When we look into the future and we see kind of like what kind of life like we want or what type of person we want to become, we reflect on our past because it's all we know. And I'm not saying that, think about your past a lot now, because like now I'm saying like, oh, I don't like how people are saying that, you shouldn't think about it. But I'm saying more specifically, the importance of our past is supposed to make our life better in the present. And sometimes it doesn't. We see that, we know from past trauma experiences, relationships, mistakes, regrets, fears, whatever. But when we change our perspective on it, instead of saying, like, fuck my past, like, I don't want to think about my past, and you think about it more because you're telling yourself not to, you need to change your perspective. Self-doubt comes from our perspective on how we view our life. And obviously, like, if you clicked on this video, like, you have that. I think we all have that. It's normal to have self-doubt. I don't think it's normalized enough, because you live with yourself for, till you die. Like, we are literally living with ourselves. So it's very easy for us to, just have this doubt with what we want to do in our life and the person that we are. But when we change our perspective and we literally say like, okay, my past is going to be used as learning, and I'm gonna take my experiences. And we hear some people say like, okay, yeah, like, use your past to help you in the present, but it's so hard because we don't understand why. So this goes back to what I was saying in the beginning. But, it's just when you understand why you're doing something, like, why am I using my past to make my life better now? It completely changes your perspective. And there's, I think, a lot of information when you're trying to be a better person, there is so much information that enters our brain, and it can be super overwhelming. Like, there was a period in my life, like when I was younger, and I've always, wanted to just be a better version of myself. However, we all do things that aren't good for us, like eat bad foods, whatever. There's many things. But there was a period in my time in my life, and I would watch all these videos and consume all this information that I thought would benefit me. Because, like, when you're watching videos like this after, it makes you feel good. Knowing that someone else relates to you, knowing that other people around the world can relate to you, it is, and it's amazing. Like, if you are constantly watching videos and listening to podcasts and just doing things that are benefiting your life, it's amazing. Like, I like to say this in my videos, but like, give props to yourself for even just clicking on this video. Like, you know what I mean? But when you're consuming all this information, sometimes, like, because in the past, this is what happened. Like, I'd consume all the information and then I wouldn't do anything about it. Like, I'll go back to like the life I was living, and I'm consuming all this, and I'm like, okay, why? Like, I just watched all this. It should be like locked in my brain. Like, why am I not doing anything? Why am I not changing? And that's I think, the core of it. Like, why am I not changing? I want to be better, but what is stopping me from this? And I think it comes from that self-doubt, because going back to my first point, when you're setting big goals for yourself and you don't accomplish them, you're like, I can't do it. Like, how am I supposed to accomplish this if I can't do this or that? And my mind goes to all these negative thoughts, you know, like it's like this cycle. Now this leads me to my last point, which is cliche, but I'm going to talk about it because it's so important. It's incredibly important. But I honestly believe that, you know, failing is the best thing you can do for yourself. And I really believe this because when you fail, that means you tried. Like, you did something that you had in your mind, you had doubt. You had doubt of doing something, and then you still did it, even knowing that you might fail. Because I feel like when we fail at something in life, like we had a feeling that we might, or some percentage of us like thought about, you know, not accomplishing something, whatever it is. But when you fail, it's such an important moment, and usually we look at ourselves and reflect badly on ourselves because we're like, we're not good enough. Why couldn't I do this? Like, it was small, it was big, whatever the case was, but we failed and we give up. And it's such an important thing, like, that you have to understand. Like, failing is the best thing for you. It shows that you put in the work. It shows that you gave a shit about something. And, you know, I also think, you know, I wish that the school systems, like the curriculum, like growing up, like I wish that it would be different. I think that teachers now just, they don't care as much as they used to, which is such a problem because, you know, teenagers, like, they're the future. They are literally the foundation of our future. Like, we gain experiences, or not the experiences that, you know, elders like have, like people that are older than us, like our elders, our parents, our grandparents, whatever. We gain that information from them. However, being youth, you have to understand that you're the future. Like, you are literally the foundation of this world. And so when we're taught in school that, like, you're gonna get an F if you fail, it's just ridiculous, because going back to what I said a little earlier in the video, your inner child, what you grow up with in life, it has such an important impact on the person you are today. And as you grow up, it really does. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned something, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.